I have to be open, leading my own team members through, hey, what are your dream careers? Assuming it's not with me. There has to be this abundance mentality of anything is possible. And what I've said before is, I think I used to manage out of fear of like, well, I don't want to lose this person. Well, I would rather have a really engaged, on fire person for 1 year than somebody who's asleep at the wheel for 3. And what I have found is that when people are, emboldened and engaged with through to this, they actually tend to stay longer because they recognize this is something I don't know if I'm going to get, the next company that I go to.
So talk a little bit about if you are an organization and you're listening to this and you go, oh, wow, I would love to implement. What are some of the steps that you need to go through to implement this kind of a culture? It's a huge shift. It's a mindset shift in most cultures.
Number one, the leader of the organization has to be willing to play full out. This is just like any culture. It's got to be top down. And for me, when I made the commitment to say this is going to be something that's in the DNA of my organization and it's important to me, I had to agree to say, okay, so that means that I'm going to live this concept out loud. And so at that time in 2013, my girlfriend and I made our lists. We planned our year around it. And then every time we crossed something off on our list, I had to talk about it publicly to my team. They didn't feel great at first because there's a certain element of, am I boasting? And also as the leader of an organization, sometimes you don't want to talk about that because maybe as the leader, you have a little bit more autonomy, flexibility, a little more income. And so does that feel right? But what I found that by me doing that, what it did is it attracted more people to that whole concept. We went on a really great trip to Southeast Asia. And my team was so excited about me leaving because it was a dream trip. And it was something that was on our list and we talked publicly about. So I think the first thing is the leader of the organization needs to be willing to embody the concept. The second thing is just read the book. The purpose of the book wasn't to be hey, here's a little bit of what we do and then you have to hire me for the rest. The purpose of the book was anybody who reads it should be able to say, I can run my own workshop for my own team. And so I didn't hold anything back. It's all in the book. And in fact, for your listeners as well, I'm doing a free gift for anybody that goes to the website. They can actually download a PDF of the book for free. It's just on my website at daneespegard.com/free gift. And they can just get it right there. And I made that commitment over the last couple of months to just say, from running these workshops, I know how powerful they are for individuals. And I want as many organizations as possible to be able to experience that. So there's a lot of information on the website.
What a gift. Thank you so much. And we'll make sure we put that information in the show notes so people have that. So thank you for that gift. What are some of the dangers? What will be the challenges that companies will have when they try to implement something like this?
If somebody tries to make the dreaming some sort of obligation of like, you have to go and accomplish your dream. It's like the whole concept of dreaming is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be abundant. And it should be, I want to opt into this. And so if there is a requirement of like, hey, you have to get a dream done this quarter, what is it? It's like that takes the true nature of this out. And the flip side, when it is not that, what you'll notice is that people will start to pick up steam. I've run these for my organization for a while, and we started to incorporate spouses. And I was a little nervous about that because I'm like, they don't speak our language necessarily. They're not really into our culture. We'll see how this goes. And the first time I did it just with our leadership team, about 7 people and their spouses. And there's one husband of somebody on our team. His name is Chris. And he was super reserved at first. By the end of this thing, he was loving it. His first year, he accomplished 6 dreams on his list.
Oh, wow.
And the next year, he accomplished about 15 dreams on his list. I look at that as an example of nobody was talking to him about the dreams after that event because he wasn't part of our organization. But he and his wife were talking about it, and they were setting things in their calendar. And because of that, they still have their dreams list today.
What do you do? Do you come across people who don't have dreams? And what do you do with that?
I think dreaming's like a muscle. I think that we all have it within. It just might be a case of you haven't exercised it in a really long time. When I run the workshops, I can tell there are certain people that it's much more difficult for. Usually during the workshop, they're just a slower mover, but they still get stuff down. What I also find is that because of the amount of categories that we have, I've had a lot of people that will say, oh, I've done these before, or it's just another goal setting workshop. But once we get into the meat of it, it really ends up being different for them because we're actually talking about dreams of family. For instance, like, hey, who are the relationships that you want to strengthen, right? Which relationships? Who do you want to see more of? Who do you need to forgive? Right? Like questions like that's not a goal setting workshop. And so I think that even if somebody's not a dreamer, sometimes get confused with the word dream, but we're really talking about how do we just live life intentionally and how do we get more out of our time here?
That's remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. So share with me some of the highlights that you've experienced from doing these workshops. And then I also want to talk about what does a workshop look like? How long do you schedule for one of these team dream workshops? And do you do a follow-up?
Yeah. So highlights, everyone is very different in what I've loved. So mine are great. I've been doing those for a long time and I know my team. What I've really enjoyed is doing them for other organizations because I walk in not knowing anything about their organization and I get to feel kind of like who they are pretty quickly. But they're a ton of fun and it's really neat to see people kind of come into their own and be their authentic selves during this because maybe they're HR at the company, but then when it's here, they're talking about all these personal things that they want to do and this enjoyment and they're super athletic and, maybe it's a family one, like everybody kind of connects to different categories. So it's really neat to hear those. I did one in Nevada in December for this mortgage company, Guild Mortgage, their local team out there. And their team was fantastic. They had about 75 people in the room. There was tons of laughing and energy in the room. And one individual said, hey, I was talking about sports. And he said, what if on my dreams list is to see the Bengals win the Super Bowl? And I said, oh, the Bengals, you probably just want to say like, go to a Super Bowl, but leave the Bengals out of it. We were joking and having some fun. Well, fast forward, the Bengals made the Super Bowl. He found me online, sent me an email, and he's like, I can't believe this. He's like, I'm not going, but there's so many fun interactions with those, with individuals at those events too, because we're not talking about work, right? We're talking about them as an individual, and we're also not talking about what they haven't done in their life. We're talking about anything is possible. What's fun? What do you want to go accomplish?
You're looking at the future.
Yeah.
Right? And we get so stuck in the past often.
Yeah. The workshops in terms of what they look like, we customize them a little differently. For my personal ones, like for my team, we'll always do an overnight offsite type of deal. And so we'll bring the first day, we'll usually do the actual dreamstorming and sharing session from like 3 to 6. And then we'll break for dinner, socialization, that kind of stuff that evening. And then we start back up the next morning. So we try and have it be a really relaxed setting. And then the next morning is when we do the planning. And there's a lot of cool conversation that comes from the sharing and stealing. We call it dream stealing. So people will share. And then when you hear great ones, you just jot them down in your list as well. So people are growing their lists that entire first day. And then we do a lot of the planning the next day. When I've been doing them for other companies, I've been doing typically about 3 to 4 hour time blocks. And I do them on Zoom or in person. So the one I'm doing this weekend, their team is kind of spread out. And so it's a Zoom 3-hour session. And with breakout rooms and stuff on Zoom, it makes it as good in person because we're able to still get those same connections.
It is just amazing. And I think in this day and age where people are so concerned about what's next, you give such hope, it's so uplifting. It shifts sort of the narrative that we're hearing all the time.
The value that I've personally experienced with the dream stuff is it strengthens somebody's purpose overall. I'm a firm believer in that we're all work in progress. And not only that we're all work in progress, but that progress is happiness. And so if I can, for myself, constantly be seeing myself achieving different things or experiencing different things, it gives purpose to everything that I do in my day-to-day. I show up with energy to work because I know that there's purpose behind it. And it's not so I can make more money. It's not, so that I can get that promotion. If it has anything to do with promotion or money, they're connected to other things on my dreams list or my wife's dreams list that we're working towards. And we get together every year. And this is something that we talk about in the workshops as well. It's not, we help people make their list, and then we talk about how do you do this with your spouse. My wife and I, every single year, at the end of the year, we'll do a little year-end review, and we'll look at what dreams we got done, and then we plan our dreams for the next year. And so we know going into the next year, this is going to be the best year of our lives. And when COVID happened in 2020, at the end of that year, we were like, this is the best year that we've ever had. And what was great about that is didn't matter what was happening in the world. We were in control of what we were doing and how we were living life. We had to adapt, obviously, with COVID, but we were able to shift and do different things on our dreams list, which we were really excited about.